There was a world-renowned banjo picker from West Virginia. His name was Don Stover, and Richard Hefner did, I think, a Don Stover tune earlier that he does an amazing job on. And this is a favorite tune of ours, and we did it on the Bing's Just Jamming with Friends album a couple years ago, and JR absolutely sung the fire out of this song. And it's one of our favorites to always do. It's one called Things in Life. Big hand for Gerald Loudermilk and Stephen Casco out there. All right, we're gonna let Jay do something special on the stage, and we've done this a handful of times, and he actually did it at the Fiddle contest earlier. If any of you were in here for that, but he's won the Cliff Top contest with this song, and we recorded it on our album back in 2020 with the Bings and Jake Crack. And it's an amazing old Ed and Hammons fiddle tune. And I'm gonna brag on him and bring him back up to the mic here. And man, Jake started playing fiddle with us in 2010. We had all known him for a long time, Mike and Tim, since he was about 5 and 7 years old. And he just kind of made his way up to being able to put the fiddle up everybody's butt. And it's been a pleasure to have him part of this thing for the last 15 years. And it's not over. We're making a long run at stuff. And but they did a celebration of all the Galax Fiddler Convention winners a few years ago. And they started going through the 80 plus years of all the awards given at Galax. And some of the heaviest hitting people in all of old time music are on those rosters. And when they started doing all the tallying and inviting everybody to come to the celebration of Galax, one guy stood out as the most awarded person in Galax history between the fiddle contest, all-around performer, and the band contest. That's Mr. Jay Cracker. Man, that song gets me every time. I don't know about all you guys. We spent so much time with all these guys sitting up on the Williams River and up on the scenic highway and just hearing that stuff and watching that fog roll over the river and then the stars come out. If they don't hit you right here, nothing will, folks. So I was talking about Galax and we started going down there. Mike and Tim Bing hadn't been there in 30 years to the Galax Fiddlers Convention, and Jake started fiddling with us, and he said, guys, come down here, just come down and hang out and jam with me, and let's just mess around and see what happens in the band contest. And we happened to steal a Southern Georgia song from a bunch of guys, and it's been a very good tune to us down at Galax. I think we won 4 or 5, 6 years in a row, making this one of the tunes that we always played. And the Bing Brothers, the original Bing Brothers, recorded this and did a heck of a job on it too. And here's one called Hell Broke Loose in Georgia that Jake absolutely destroys. You make us rhythm guys work, man. All right, we're gonna bring somebody special out that I didn't get to meet her till she'd probably been 5 or 6 years a student of Jay Crack's and Bobby Taylor's, and they brought her up to Allegheny Echoes to take a whole week's worth of classes with everybody up there, and she has since become one of our favorite fiddlers on the planet, and she's won a bunch of contests, and you saw her a little bit ago with the State Birds, and it's funny, we got about 30 songs recorded on an album that's getting ready to come out, and Tessa come and played fiddle on it, and I played some of the tracks that she played on it for Jake to hear so he could come in and do his parts, and he said, I've already put fiddle on that. I said, no, you haven't. And he said, Tessa stole my fiddle breaks. It was such great fiddling, so close to what Jake Crack does that he thought he had done it himself. Welcome Tessa Dylan McCoy to the stage. Now, can you tell those fiddle notes apart? Because I have trouble. All right, here's another song that we love to do, and Jake brought this to the band, and he had taught it to Tessa during all their classes too, and it's just a fun song to play. And it dates back to the Revolutionary War, when all the soldiers were at their lowest point in morale and cold and wet and starving, and George Washington's regimental fiddlers would fiddle around the campfires and try to bring the morale up to those guys. And the great-grandson of one of those regimental fiddlers for George Washington, he was a Missouri fiddler, and he was credited with this song here. But it's entitled Valley Forge, and it's one of our favorites to play. So once again, Jay Crack and Tessa Dillon.
Tessa Dylan McCoy. Thank you, Tessa. We love you. Oh, man, you're making the rhythm section work. All right, Mike Bing always introduces this next song, and he always says Jake is the golden throat singer. And Jake Crack only sings one song in all the 400 songs that we play as a band. And he does actually sing the fire out of this thing. And we recorded this with a bunch of special guys. It's been done a bunch of ways, old time, bluegrass, and about the year 2002, this little known band named the Lonesome River Band. Yeah. They recorded this song that we all knew as an old time song, and they played the fire out of it, the grass style. So when we started asking people to come and record songs with us with the Bing Brothers, one of the first things we put on the list was Raleigh and Spencer with Sammy Sheeler and any of the guys from the Lonesome River Band. So it's getting ready to come out later in the year, and I want you to welcome to the stage Sammy Sheeler and Jesse Smags. That's some powerful stuff, isn't it? That's what you get when you don't have whiskey in a town. They burn it down. All right. So 3 years ago, we released the first series of the Bing Brothers Just Jamming with Friends album. And like I said, we'd call a bunch of friends and people we had in mind that we had jammed with, the Bings especially, over the last 50 plus years. And asked them if they'd want to be a part of it and what songs they wanted to record and that kind of thing. And Todd Sands was one of the first calls that Tim Bing made, and he said, I want to record this song with Tim Bing right here. And man, it's a special Irish tune. And Dave Bing is also on this original recording with these guys doing it. And welcome to the stage, the other 2/3 of the Bing Brothers, Brother Dave Bing. And I'll tell you, it's been a special 5 or 7 years here, having Dave back at Allegheny Echoes teaching and at Marshall football tailgates and you name it. Deer camp, go herd. Does anybody have a score update, by the way? Not yet? All right, give me one when you get it. This is a great old Irish tune. It's one of Mike Bing's favorite songs. And Todd and Tim and Dave and Jake play the fire out of this thing. And it's called Made Behind the Bar. John Blizzard still in the house? Is he outside?
Find him.
Hey, Paul, holler out that door for John Blizzard. It will. So we learned a song, Tim and Mike and Dave originally learned it many, many years ago from John Blizzard. And we learned a lot of stuff from John, most of it the wrong things to do in life. But he does have a lot of good songs that he has brought to the fold. And man, he's part of West Virginia old time music royalty. There he is, Mr. John Blizzard. So on the volume 1 of the Bings and Friends album, we recorded this song that John taught the band years ago, and he taught it to Tim and Mike and Dave, and they never really pushed it on the band until we got the band together with myself and Jake Crack, and Jake got a hold of this thing ungodly on the fiddle, and it just brought new life to the song. And once we started doing it, all the three-finger bluegrass banjo players that ever heard Tim Bing doing this song just instantly fell in love with this song. And Todd recorded it on the album with us, and Sammy Sheeler has made Tim Bing play it with him every time since the first day that he heard it. And it all comes from John Blizzard back here, and it's not old time, it's not bluegrass, it's not jazz. There's no way to define this song. It's got a little bit of everything, and it's one called Last Chance.
Sammy Sheeler, Todd Sams, Jesse Smathers, man. That's powerful stuff, folks. All right, I'd like to welcome Brother Dave Bang back up to the stage, and we're going to do a couple more here for you. And if you've been a fan of the Bing Brothers Band for any time at all, you know that they were famous for putting 2 and 3 and 4 and 7 song medleys together sometimes. And it's always been a real crowd pleaser and a highlight of the shows. And we're going to start with one A medley that we call it, just in a major key of A, and it's got 2 great songs on it. It's got a Irish song called Feral O'Gara that it starts with. And then it transitions into a old Hot Mud Family song. Hot Mud Family, is that where 3 Thin Dimes? Or Hutchinson Brothers? One of those.
Yeah, Hot Mud Family's one we got.
Yep. And it's going to end with a old Hot Mud Family tune that they got it from, called 3 Thin Dimes. So here's a medley of 2 great tunes that we love to do, and hope you enjoy it.
Although that is a really good one.
All right, we got time for one more here, and we're not going to hold this stage up anymore because the Lonesome River Band is back here, folks. The Lonesome River Band and the Pocahontas County Opera House. I mean, come on. We're going to do one more song, and this has been a staple of the Big Brothers Band probably since, when did y'all start doing this as a medley in the 70s?
I was recording when they opened the Frank Center in Shepherdstown, and that was in the late 70s, and we did this medley there. So it's been...
Man, that's really, really cool. It's funny you say something like that because when we went and played Mountain Stage a couple of years ago, and you talk about tallying stuff up like with Jay Crack, and we went and played, what was it, the 40th anniversary of Mountain Stage a year or two ago? And they tallied everything up. And the band that has been on Mountain Stage the most times in the history of 40 years of Mountain Stage is the Bing Brothers.
We played quite a bit when they had bands playing for free. At the very first. Then they started getting the big money. No, I love some of my favorite. Never mind. Let's play one.
So like I said, they've been doing this song since, Dave said, the 70s, and it's one of the first songs when I started playing with the Bings. Tim Bing would sit down and phrase for phrase make me learn this song, and it is one of our favorites to play, and it's a crowd pleaser, and it's a medley of 3 great songs. And the first song is Grumbling Old Man and Growling Old Woman, and you'll hear the separation in the high and low parts in that song. And then the second song is a great Central West Virginia fiddle song named Elzic's Farewell. And then we're going to end with a third song. It's an Irish tune that's called The Gravel Walk. And God bless Mike Bing. If he could be right here with us, he would be. And he was out there in the field for about 6 hours with a bunch of the folks last night, and he had an ear-to-ear grin. And we just can't wait for him to get well and be right here doing the talking duties, because none of us can do it. We can play music. And it's the most awkward thing that we have to do is talk, because Mike Bing has done it for 50 years. So keep Mike Bing in your thoughts and your prayers, and you're going to see him soon out here with you, I promise that. And that's his goal. And he said that his second goal is to be hitting a golf ball by the end of frost in the spring up here in Pocahontas Country Club. And he said he's going to hit it farther than J.R. Loudermilk, too. All right. Once again, thanks to Joanna and the town of Marlinton and everybody that puts this on. This is an amazing event, and there was some amazing musicians and music played here today. And anything you can do to keep supporting that, please do it. And we love y'all. Here's one more.
right, friends, we'll be right back with the Lonesome River Band.
Hey, well, we get set up for the Lonesome River Band. I've got winners to announce.